Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome into Uncle Jimmy's podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we have on the show Pete versus Anxiety, right? That's the man.
Yes, sir.
Welcome to the show where we dive deep into the heart of human resilience. Today, I'm beyond honored to introduce Pete from Pete versus Anxiety, a fearless warrior in the battle against mental health stigma, a storyteller who turns personal pain into universal power, and a beacon for anyone who's ever felt the weight of anxiety, ADHD, or depression pressing down. Pete doesn't just talk about healing, he lives it, shares it raw, and lights the way for countless others with his unshakable courage and infectious hope. Pete, brother, the mic is yours. Let's
Hey,
get real.
guys. Well, thank you for having me, Uncle Jimmy. I appreciate you bringing me in, man. I am Pete, host of Pete versus Anxiety. I've been doing this mental health podcast for almost a year and a half now. We are officially done with season 2. Like I was telling Jimmy before we started recording, I'm out working on season 3 now. I deal with anxiety, depression, ADHD, PTSD I've had recently. It was not a fun time, but yeah, ever since starting the show, it's been really interesting to see the response I'm getting from people. Like, you would not believe the number of inboxes I get over the last week alone of just people that want to be on the show, like anything from an Olympic athlete to a 2-time Emmy winner to, some people that are in the top like 1% of the respective podcasts. I've had a lot of people on the show. In the first season, I decided to get a little ambitious, so I did 200 interviews. But after that, I decided to break it up a little bit differently how I was doing it. But it was great. I've been loving doing it, and I'm still going to keep doing it.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you're probably similar like me, right? Once you started, right? I did season 1 and then season 2 hit me and I'm like, I can do 1,000,000 episodes, right? I can do 1,000,001. I can do anything, right? But you're probably like me, right? I got anxiety, I get depression, but when I get behind the mic, right? And I'm speaking to someone, whether it's you or other guests, I feel almost natural, right? At ease, where the anxiety's gone and the depression's gone. And, I love having people come on and share their stories because it's a gateway, right? Into everyday lives, right? Someone like you, Pete, who suffers from the anxiety, ADHD, depression, right? And how I explain my anxiety simply is when I wake up in the morning, every morning, there's 12 bricks on my chest, right? And throughout the day, some days I'm able to get all 12 bricks off, right? So I'm free. And I wake up the next morning, guess what? 12 bricks are back, right? So for me, throughout the day, I get rid of 1 or 2, 3, 4, 5, sometimes, half a dozen bricks. Sometimes I get them all off. Sometimes I only get a few. But it's the weight of the world almost, right? The weight of things that you can't control. Worrying about what's going to happen tomorrow. Worrying about what happened yesterday? Worrying what happened 6 months ago, a year ago. That we often get into our heads, and I tell people this all the time. I don't know if you tell your listeners as well. Men, right? We're told growing up that you're supposed to be tough. You're supposed to hold it in. You're not supposed to tell your feelings, right? But I tell people all the time, if you don't have anybody that you can reach out to, there's 988. You can text or call it. It's the Suicide and Crisis Hotline. It's staffed 24/7, 365. You can text it or call it, and someone will always answer you.
Yeah, 100%.
You feel alone, if you feel alone, if you feel hopeless, believe me, I've used it myself as a lifeline. I'm not ashamed to say it. I've used it. It's been a great tool. It's a great resource for people that really feel like they don't have anybody. But what I've found is, right, Pete, I don't know about you, but once you start being vulnerable, right, and you open yourself up and you start talking, there's a lot more people that want to help you.
Yeah.
But first, you got to take that first step of what? Talking, right? And opening yourself up.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, though, because when I started the show, I didn't really speak much on my own. I kind of hit in at it a little bit. And then I eventually just said, fuck it. One day I woke up and I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to change how I do things. I think it's time just to, whatever it was, just something just woke up and said, you know what? It's time to be honest about what I deal with. So like most days, people didn't know how bad I was struggling. Like for the first season, I was literally doing 5 days a week, recording 5 to 10 episodes a week. And people were just like, I'm telling people this recording schedule. I'm like, Jesus, man, what are you sleeping? That's the problem. I wasn't sleeping. I was very depressed. I would be in a sleep-like state, but it wouldn't really be restful sleep. In the room I would record in, I literally would stay in that room all day. Like if I didn't have to leave that room, I didn't. I'd literally turn the light out, reach up, turn the light off. And I went right back into that dark hole I was living in the whole time. And no one knew I was struggling, and no one knew. And I didn't let people know, because like a lot of people can't handle that conversation. When you start telling them like the thoughts that are going on in your head, or that you want to end your own life, it's like, it's hard. People don't know what to say.
Yeah.
They start freaking out. They're like, oh shit, he's seriously talking about this, but they don't realize that, me talking to them is probably better than me actually doing it, because, we all know what the statistics are. 80% of men are suicides.
Yeah.
The scary part is 10 to 14 is now the newest highest one. They're going up really quick. And it's really worrying me, because it's like, when do we start talking more and stop being fucking scared to say something? And it's like, with this show, it's like this was a freedom for people to come and say something. At first it was a little rocky, but like I said, I was still new to it. I got invited to join a podcasting network. So that's where I was for my first year. I really hung out for a whole year, but I met amazing people the whole way down the line. I just kept meeting these new people, and new conversations unlock and new things I'd learn about myself, and I started learning more about myself as I go. But no one knew how bad I was struggling because a lot of the things in the vaccine I was dealing with was like my marriage was crumbling, my life's falling apart. I attempted suicide twice, and then the second time I told her about it, I said something to her. She told me, well, this is the wrong time. Anybody listening, please do never say that to anybody. It may not be the most comfortable conversation. It may be the worst time of the conversation, but you need to take that conversation serious when someone tells you that because you don't know what the next thing is going to happen. Because at least they're talking to you at this point. Now, if they were far enough gone, it wouldn't matter what you say to them, because that's why I get upset about these videos, like, when these people post, oh, after you take your life, and they start listing these like laundry list of things. And I'm just like, the fuck are you doing? Like, do you
Yeah.
realize what you're doing? Is you're giving ammunition to these people to say, well, fuck it. No one cares anyway. So what the fuck does it
Yep.
matter? And it's like, huh?
Yep.
What? Like, I've had a debate with my friend about this a lot of times. She's like, well, that's your point of view. I'm like, everybody I've said that to says the same thing. They said, yeah, you're right. That's what I mean. It's like think about what you're telling these people, and if they're
Exactly.
far enough gone, I had an actual psychotherapist I was on with Liam. I can't think what his last name is, but he and him had discussed this. I was, Liam, let me ask you a question. I said, like, when you hear these videos, and I described it directly to him, and he was like, oh, yeah. He said, if you're far enough gone and you're to that point, it's not going to matter what these people are saying to you, but anybody getting to that point, I'm like, my point of view is that there's one thing on this list could be what's triggering them. All the text messages, all these other things. It's like some people just want all the noise to stop, or they feel like they're not being seen. It's like, a lot of people don't feel like they're being heard, which is a lot of times what you hear. A lot of people like to baby people that committed suicide. They just want to sit there and like treat them differently. It's like you're not doing them any favors doing that. You're making the situation worse because now they feel like a different person because you're making it worse. And I know people think they're helping, but they're really not.
No, I say it too sometimes, right? If someone does come to you with that and you have no words for them, you can sit there, you can put your arms around them, you can let them know they're loved.
Hmm.
Because sometimes just being there, being present, can be the biggest thing. Because I don't know about you, Pete. Myself, I can be in a room sometimes of 500 people and I still feel alone. I
Exactly.
still feel like I'm
Exactly.
by myself. Yeah. People say to me, "Well, you have such this confidence and this way of talking and this way of being." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "Unfortunately, that's sometimes the masks that we wear,
Hmm.
right?" And when I was able to take those masks off and be vulnerable and look myself in the mirror and become truthful and honest with myself, and the biggest step for me was forgiving myself, right? Forgiving myself for everything I've put myself through, everything, in my head. Are you doing this wrong? Are you doing that wrong? We're all human beings.
Hmm.
But one of the biggest things I think you can do is if you don't have words for someone and they're going through this, sit with them.
Hmm.
Just sit with them. If they want to put their head on your shoulder, just sit with them. Just be there, you know, because sometimes just being present and being in the moment and listening to someone when you don't have the answers, because sometimes people's first thing is, hey, I'm calling an ambulance. I'm calling the cops. You're going to hurt yourself. I'm going to call the ambulance. For some people that can be a bad thing too,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, you jumped the gun a little too quick. You can ask them too. Hey, are you thinking about committing suicide? It's not wrong. You're asking the right questions. I know people think, oh shit, you don't want to ask them that. You do because it will scare them a lot of times to think, am I really thinking this? Because if they are, that's when you get 988 involved and have them talk to somebody. Don't leave them. Don't abandon them. That could be the biggest mistake you ever make is abandoning somebody in the time of need when they need you because they'll remember that now. I had a situation I'm doing that recently where it's like that. Like everybody left this person by themselves and they're like, I needed you all to be there and you weren't. You just left me there for dead, basically, essentially, and just left me to rot on my own. And it's just like, it's hard. It's hard,
Yeah, it's
man. And
tough.
especially the relationship with my kids was hard too, man. Like I was struggling hardcore for a long time. And I lied to myself that I was okay. And I wasn't. I really wasn't. The way I lashed out at them and things I did to them, the things I said to them, the verbal abuse, the physical abuse to them, like I disciplined them. I called it discipline. It wasn't discipline. It was me lashing out at them for no reason when they had nothing to do with it. And I mean, we're on better speaking terms now, but it took a while to get there. They wanted nothing to do with me. In fact, they told me they hated me at one point, and rightfully so. They had every right to feel that way. I was a terrible fucking person to them. I was not a good person. I tell people that all the time. This whole past year, I've been self-reflecting on a lot of shit, and it's just like, holy shit, was I a terrible fucking person to everybody around me? And like, you don't see it
Yeah,
because you're
Pete,
too
when you're
blind.
going through exactly, like you said, when you're going through it, right, you don't see it. But
Hmm.
when you take a step back, right, and you start clearing your mind and you think of it, right? you think of all the people that you hurt, right? And most of the times, 99% of the time, it's your loved ones that you
Mhm.
hurt, right? It's the people that have been there for you, the people that would do anything for you, and it could be as simple as, you talk to them the wrong way or you blew up. One of my biggest things was I would always just, instead of wanting to have a conversation, with my ex partner, it would always be, I don't want to fight or argue. I don't want to fight or argue, because, and that would be my mechanism. I don't want to fight and argue. And then I would blow up, right? And then I would blame her. It's her fault. You shouldn't have wanted to fight and argue. And all that you want to do is have a simple conversation,
Mhm.
but I couldn't do it because you know what? I was battling my own demons. I was
Mhm.
battling my own head. I was battling myself, but now I'm on the path of being a better person, trying to be a better person than I was last night when I went to bed and woke up this morning, trying to be a better person than I was 10 minutes ago. Because when you start growing, right, and you start learning the right way to deal with, mental health and have a healthy outlet, you almost, you almost see that path, right? Back in the day, when I was down and out and depressed, I used to say to people all the time, it felt like I was in the woods with no sunlight, just in the darkness, right?
Mhm.
And how I pulled myself out was one day I woke up and there was this glimmer of light coming through the forest. And I followed it and followed it. And every day I was taking a step until I finally got myself out where the forest parted ways and the sun was right there. And I was basking in the sun. And, I was able to free myself from that hole that I was in because I was similar to you.
Yeah.
One of my biggest things was coming home from work and just crawling into bed, you
Yeah.
know, set my alarm for 5:50, do my podcast at 6 to 8, 8 to 10, crawl right back into bed. And sometimes, right, Pete, for me to get up in the morning to go back to work, if I took a shower, that was a win for me,
Yeah. No, I agree.
you
I agree.
know?
100%.
And nobody knew. Everybody thought, oh, he got it going on. He's great. He got a podcast. He's working. He's making money. He's traveling. Fuck, I ain't happy. I'm depressed.
Mhm.
On the outside, it looks good, you know?
Yeah, it's hard for people to understand that too, and then they always wanna tell you, "Cheer up." Like, that
Yeah.
is the worst fucking thing you could tell me to. I'm glad you think that's how easy that shit is. Well, just cheer up. Okay,
Cheer up
cool.
and get over it, right?
I'll try. I'll try and do that. Let's see how well that fucking works for you. Let's trade places for one day. You wouldn't make it a day in my shoes. Guarantee
Exactly.
it. That depression hole was so fucking big. It would have swallowed you twice over, and you still wouldn't know what to fucking do every day. It's like it's great when people have advice for you, but the people that get it really get it, understand exactly what you're going
Yeah.
through. And that's the hardest part is when it comes to these things. And we're only scratching the surface. We're not even talking about half the other fucking crazy shit you can get into like BPD. My girlfriend has BPD. Like that is a whole nother level of shit you're dealing with right there.
Yeah.
Every day I question who I am and I have my own self-worth issues every day, but I get up every day and she motivates me to, and she'll tell me, she understands the battles I deal with. But for me to tell most people that, my family members don't even know I try to commit suicide. They're going to find out real soon though, because it's on the show. I probably
Show
should tell them
exactly.
sooner. I probably should tell them sooner, but I don't want them to act like, start treating me any differently than I am. It's like you need
Then
to
you are.
understand that where this is coming from is that it's had nothing to do with anybody but myself. These are the battles I dealt with. I didn't tell you because none of you all would understand this conversation. If I
Yeah.
honestly told you, minus one person who my brother, he's a psychiatric nurse, would probably understand more than anybody else. Everybody else wouldn't understand that. Like I couldn't tell my kids that. They don't know. And if
Yeah.
they're listening to the show, they're going to hear it and they're going to be like, oh my God, and they shouldn't. It's a conversation you don't have with them when they're old enough. Yeah, I'll pull them aside and we'll have that conversation, let them know exactly what I was thinking. My oldest is about to graduate high school. She may be the first one to actually have the conversation with that. She's that age, because my biggest fear is that they'll go through the same things I will and won't say anything and then allow it to become a greater problem than what it was. Because when I was 10, my mom abandoned me, and it's like you don't realize the ripple effect in your life that these things happen. I spent a lot of time alone. So that's why now I like to be alone. It's my most comfort zone is to be by myself alone in a dark room. I don't mind being in there. Have I branched out a little more? Yeah, with the podcast, a lot more now. It's like, a lot more people see me. I get people email me every day asking to be on the show. I spend a lot of time on TikTok and things like that and all these other different areas and meet different people. I actually found out I had a fangirl today. Somebody was so excited to talk to me. She went through another friend of mine and said, oh my God, Pete for his anxiety? You get a hold of him. She's like, just reach out to him. What do you mean? I'll tell him you're looking for him. I'm like, what? I have a fangirl? My girlfriend's like, well, I've always been your biggest fan. I said, yeah, but outside of that, you could still be the number one fan. But I'm just saying it was so funny to hear that this person had sought me out. I didn't look for them. And a lot of people I know on TikTok, like they'll just talk high volumes about it. If you ask my name to some people, they'll just start singing the praises to the sun, because they are so excited about knowing me, who I am, and things like that too. Most rooms I go into, a lot of people already know I am. So it's like a lot of people come looking for me, and then other people find the podcast, and then they reach out and they tell me about it. Hey, listen, I watched this episode. I really enjoyed it. And other people are watching the show come up to you and tell you, hey, listen, I'm listening to your podcast. I think it's really great. And I'm being heard in different countries too, which is really crazy too, because Ireland and a bunch of other different places are hitting me up all the time. So it's a lot I'm learning as I go, and I look at the numbers, but you really shouldn't compare them to other people. Like a friend of mine, she just hit 15,000 downloads, and I'm at like, well, roughly my numbers, I'm almost 5,000 downloads. I mean, that's 5,000 people that downloaded the show. Shit, it could have been 20 and it wouldn't have mattered to me that 5,000
Yeah,
people took that much time to download all those episodes. Like, hey, that says a lot. Like, that's more than most people get. And I like to mentor
yeah,
other people that get into podcasting too. Tell them, like, listen, hey, when you hit episode 20, let me know. We'll just celebrate because most of them don't even make it that far. In fact, there's two guys I met on Instagram, the live podcast I was on their show. I was one of their first guests. That we're counting down to number 20 because they said episode 20, they want me to come back. So we've been counting down every day. So we're at 9 more to
damn,
go until we get there. So every time they post that there's okay, the episode's all right, we're this many to go. Let's go until I return. I told them we're going to celebrate at 20. We're going to come back. We're going to celebrate number 20, because it's more than most podcasters get to. I got a friend of mine.
exactly.
He runs an addiction podcast. He just hit 100. I have another friend. She's got 100,000 followers on YouTube and says that my name pops up more than hers. And she said, well, how's this possible? Because I'm just good at networking with people. I network with a lot of people. A lot of people know who I am because in that first year I spent, all those other people were talking about me to other people. Like, hey, yeah, I've been mentioned on other podcasts too. I think the first one I showed up on was Mentally Badass with a friend of mine. She was talking to another girl that I had interviewed with who runs Emotionally Unavailable. The two of them were talking about me. She mentioned my name, said, oh, hey, do you know Pete versus Anxiety? And you never know that this woman was not obsessed with me. She was like, oh my God, Pete, I know him. I love him. And it's like, I don't have to do anything other than be Pete every day. Show up to the show, do my thing.
Be yourself.
And most days, like people are like, oh, I prep all the time. I'll be honest, I don't prep for any of these episodes. I honestly, everything you hear saying is me. Pete's saying most of it. Maybe
Yeah.
I do look a little stuff, some stuff up. Like I had a whole conversation about neuroscience with somebody for an hour long. I knew zero about neuroscience, but we kept up in the conversation because the way she presented it made sense.
Yeah. And just think about it, Pete, right? How many people's lives, right? You said you have 5,000 downloads, right?
Hmm.
And just think about it. That could be 5,000 people that were going through it, that were having some problems, right? They listen to the podcast and they're still here,
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
And I look at it, right? I think I'm 20 something in, 23 in or something like that. And I think I have, 1,500 downloads or
That's
something.
good.
And I used to laugh and say, yeah, I'll get a couple family members, maybe two, three people per episode, right? But my whole thing was as long as one person downloads my episode, it's one person more than I thought would listen to it, you
Exactly
know?
how I thought about it too, man. I was like, as soon as I saw the numbers, I just started watching them go. And then it's the consistency of numbers this year alone have picked up. And it's just like, I've learned more about more marketing strategies and how to be visible more. At first I was trying to book everybody myself and I have a digital scheduler to do all that now. When
Yeah.
it spits out all my content for me. So I literally have everything for season two is already all set up and ready to go. It does a preview episode the day before. It drops a little funny little, I got a little card made up for it, new episode, and then the name of the episode and things like that too. So it does all the work for me. So I spent like, God, what did I do? Season one, when I finished that out, I spent 14 hours straight just editing the rest of those episodes. I'm pretty sure I missed some because I had like two different feeds because I switched the hosting site because I was on Podbean and then I went to StreamYard because the network I was a part of, they offered it for free. They're like, oh yeah, hey, listen, we'll offer this. Cool. You want to pay for it? My guest. I'll be my guest. I'll do
Exactly.
it. If you do as much as I want, cool. Then they gave me more leeway and they were like, well, you can do as much episodes as you want as long as nobody's on the schedule. Done. I'll got you. I'll be there. And I was live for all these episodes, season one. Now I've chosen to go pre-recorded because a lot of these conversations are getting more intense. In fact, season three's
Yeah.
first episode, holy shit. Let me tell you, I was rendered speechless for the first time ever in the history of this show. And I'm a very well spoken person and I could say a lot of things, but there I was kind of thrown off a little bit by what was said in the middle of that episode. It was just like, I was like, holy shit. And do people think they have it bad? Trust me. When you listen to this season three opener, you're going to be the same way I am. You're just like, holy fuck, did she just say what I think she just says? This whole sequence of events that happens, that'll blow your minds. Like, it was the craziest thing I've ever heard. It's, in fact, the second most craziest thing. The first one still is the guy that told us 15 minutes in he had thought about killing himself that morning. And then that was Brian, what the hell is his last name? Brian DeCosta. Okay, so 15 minutes in this conversation, Jimmy, he goes in, he's just like talking, and then all of a sudden he just gets into it. He's like, yeah, I'm just sitting on the edge of the bed with a gun in my hand, thinking about, shooting myself. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And I'm not freaking out while I'm watching this because I'm just like, holy shit. And did he say what I think he said? So I had somebody go back and listen to it. It wasn't there for the live taping it, but he was really just talking about it like very casual. But yeah, and it was just like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like, the conversations just get crazier and crazier. I think there's only like three times I've ever broke down on the camera with somebody. And one of them was Tiff Carson. She was telling this story about her brother who was physically abused by the grandfather and the dad in the corner of the kitchen, which made sense because she was talking about how he used to beat her up in the corner of the kitchen, which always made it really weird to me. I was like, why the corner of the kitchen? And then when she led into the story and told you, you found out that that's where the grandfather and the dad were physically beating this poor guy. And then he,
Yeah.
he battled addiction and then he eventually killed himself, because of everything just built up all together. The poor guy just, and then she started breaking down and I'm breaking down with her. I'm like, oh, Jesus almighty. And it's just hard, man. Some of these conversations, they take a lot out of you, man. Like, so like some days I'll usually do 3 to 4 a day, Mondays and
Yeah.
Tuesdays, depends. But there's some days I just have to reschedule with people and people are like, oh, is it that big? No, you're going to reschedule. People, it's going to happen. If you need to reschedule, if I can't give you 100% Pete, I'm not going to be there for this episode. I'm not going to waste my
Exactly.
time and waste your time. Like, obviously, if I have to push it back, because I'm booking into April now. Now, mind you, that's 3 to 4 people a day on Mondays and Tuesdays. I'm out to April, almost March now, with just people lining
Yeah.
up to be on this show. And I find new stories all the time. So, like different people I run into, I invite to the show all the time. So I'm doing other stuff outside of the recording schedule, that too. But I'm always picking up new stories as I go with different people, and it's because it's my show at the end of the day. So I'm going to place people where I feel they fit best. A lot of people are like, well, I don't want to wait till March for it to come out. Well, guess what? Season two's already wrapped up. We're good to go. Season two's good, but it's going to be a season three. This is usually the timeline. Usually, a lot of them, that's how it works with all these podcasts. People
Yeah.
record them now, and then months down the road, your interview comes out, and people are like, "Oh, well, I didn't know it was even there." Well, you know what I'm saying?
I tell
Like,
my guests all the time, right, Pete? When I put it in the recording, session for Uncle Jimmy's podcast, release date to be determined.
exactly.
I can't guarantee. I mean, I can't guarantee it's going to come out next week or 3 weeks or 4 weeks. I do know that I'm going to be using you
Hmm.
for. I have a new segment that I just started, Mental Health Mondays.
Hmm.
Which is a big thing I'm pushing for men, Mental Health Mondays, to realize that the first step is talking in talking about it. Because like you said, you went into statistics. There's so much that men just need to be able to open themselves up, be vulnerable, and be able to talk about it.
Hey, listen,
Because I think
I'm down to collab with you on that. Whenever you figure that whole thing out, let me know, man. I'm free Mondays. I have
definitely,
nothing
brother.
really going on,
Yeah,
bro. Like I said, I'd be down for that with you. I'm
perfect.
always willing to do a lot of projects, man. I've been discovering human design. I've done star chart readings and all these other things. So I figured out that I'm a man generator, which means I do a lot of projects. So like
Yeah,
taking
yeah.
on new
No,
stuff
that's
all the
awesome.
time, and I've got invited to different panels. So like I'll be back on another media panel. I believe it's either February or March. I know I got invited to another one in March called Potapalooza. So I know that's I think the second week of March for that one too. And I'm getting all these invites to come do all these different things. So it's been kind of cool though. This past year has been really interesting. I did get the first one I did, though, I was probably the most veteran of the most rookie person, actually, should I say, out of everybody. And we're talking the woman introducing all of us is a two-time Emmy winner. And they're sitting right there on the desk like it's nothing. I was like, what the fuck? I'm looking at them. I'm like, is that what I think that is? And one of the guys goes, hey, you got any Emmys around here? She goes, oh, yeah, I got two right here. I'm like, what the fuck? The fuck ever, dude.
That's awesome. But it goes to show you the hard work you're putting in,
Hmm.
in the work that you're doing with the mental health, which is great. So, Pete, what's one of the biggest mental health myths you want to shatter right now?
I think that people think that when you go talk to a therapist, you're crazy. I ask a lot of people that, why haven't you talked to somebody? They say the same exact thing. Hey, why don't you? Why? Because I'm crazy. You're not crazy. It's not wrong. Nothing wrong with learning how your thought process works, or if something's wrong, or something that you need to address. Because if you fall into one of those categories, there are alternative ways. Everybody's so scared to talk to a therapist because they feel like they're going to get medicine given to them. And that's really not the thing anymore. There's so many different options these days of things you can do. Like I've had so many different people come on with different things that you can do that are way off the scale than what medicine is. Medicine's not the end all be all anymore. A lot of people are moving away from there because the side effects, like the crazy amount of side effects you get from those things, oh hell no.
But yeah,
Especially
yeah,
benzos and all them other things. Oh my god, dude! There's people like you bring in that can just talk to you hours on end about benzos alone. It's just the side effects and things that you had, And but if we think about it though, why do most people turn into addictions? Because a lot of them are trying to fix some mental problem they have because they're too afraid to talk to somebody because whatever reason they got in their head that if they go talk to a therapist, they're crazy, and it's really not the case. It's you just understanding how your thoughts work.
yeah. Pete, I often say it, right? If you break your arm, right, you go to the doctors to get it fixed, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
If you're having some problems with your, mental health and you have you should go to a therapist and seek some help because you want to fix it. You want to fix so for anyone, I say it all the time, mental health is health.
Hmm.
It should be part of your everyday routine, everyday upkeep. So Pete, what's one of your go-to daily rituals for keeping anxiety at bay?
I think this is gonna sound funny, but I talk to myself every single day. Like I meditate in seasons. This season, the second episode, I met a guy named Julian. Him and I were discussing this, and he was talking about me talking to inner Pete. The Pete that was abandoned when he was 10 years old. So I talk to him every single day. Now there's days I wake up, my anxiety feels like I got a weight of bricks in my chest, meaning I know something's wrong because I'm very energy sensitive and I'm an empath. So like I could feel emotion in my empathness, my energy sensitivity comes in as like I can feel something's not right. If there's something wrong, usually I'm pretty spot on that something's the matter at that point. So but most days it's okay. Like I have a journal. So it depends how I feel. If I get up, I'll journal if I feel like that's what I want to do today. I have an anxiety journal for if I'm having really bad anxiety in that morning. I go to the gym is a really great place to go. You get a stress reliever and get in there, get your head cleared and things like that too. Music is a major thing, a part of my life. I'll turn on some music and just kind of jam out depending on what it is.
Yeah.
I have a playlist set up for just that alone where I'm just like, if I'm having a rough day, it's just like, that's what I'm listening to. So I use many different modalities when it comes to that kind of stuff. Like I said, meditation's a really good one too. And people are like, "Oh, think it's like the shit you're watching TV or sit there cross." Like, don't. You can just sit in a chair and just sit there and talk to yourself and clear your thoughts and spend 15 minutes a day in doing it. And that's all you have to do. It's really not like they're asking you to do much. People just make it a bigger thing than it has to be. So I mean, there's plenty of things you can do. I even have a journal for like if I have bad thoughts, I put them in there, and I don't look
Yeah.
at it after I'm done. I mean, it's a lot of times you'll see me talking to myself too, but I'm really not. It's just because I'm having an anxiety starting to act up or something starting to get caught in my brain and I'm just speaking it out loud because when you start talking about it and get it out of your head, then you realize how dumb it sounds a little bit. And you're like, okay, well, that doesn't sound real. You know what I mean? Because my anxiety, that's what it does. It'll reinvent shit like for me all the time. Like I'll grab onto something people say. So a lot of times I find myself asking people questions like, hey, can you clarify that? Or hey, this is what I'm taking this as. I know I'm probably wrong, but can you clarify that? And a lot of times, people look at you weird, but then it's like I said, when you're sitting there talking to yourself, people are like, oh shit, he's talking to himself over there. Are you okay? I'm good. I'm golden. You don't
Yeah.
understand what I'm doing is just getting the thoughts on my head. There's times I have an Instagram group of other podcasters that understand exactly what I'm dealing with. I'll just send them complete gibberish messages and I call it downloading my brain because I'm just having overwhelming thoughts. So I mean, there's plenty of different things I do.
Yeah, that's always one big thing to get it out, right? One of
Hmm.
my biggest things is from my mind to the pen to paper is how I get it out.
Yeah.
It goes from my mind right to my down my arm to the pen to paper, and it's almost like a relief for me when I get it on the piece of paper. Boom, 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 and I go back, read it, and I can see, hey, this is what I was thinking, this is what I was going through, this is how I dealt with it.
Yeah. Yeah. And the anxiety journals are really great for that too. Like a friend of mine gave me one as a gift. She and I did a podcast together, season one. The second season and third season together, that's what turned me to go to Pete for anxiety was that we got to men's mental health, but she had noticed I was struggling and she said, "Hey, listen, I got something for you. I want you to try this." And it's a journal where it starts you at one side, you start with a thought that's really bothering you. And when you get to the other side, you start to realize how either it's really not real or it's your brain making it up. And it just kind of makes you feel relief, and things like that
Yeah.
too. And it's hard some days, and other days it's easy. You know what I mean? There's days that I have rough days where it's just like, I've had breakdowns at work where I'm at work. I've had mental breakdowns where I'm just like freaking out, but I don't
Yeah.
do it where anybody can see me. I go to the coolers. A lot of times I ground, like I go in the freezer and I'll take deep breaths and I'll come back because that racing feeling will start coming and I'll feel a panic attack coming on, and stuff like that too. And it's an everyday battle. That's why it's called Peter's anxiety because every day I battle my anxiety. At first, it was harder when I started recording because I was so nervous beforehand. Now I can jump in any conversation with anybody anytime. I just jump in, say hello. In the first 5 minutes, we're ready to roll.
And that's awesome. And just being yourself, that's one of the biggest things I've learned, right? Because throughout life, right, whether you want to believe it or not, people try to change you, whether
Hmm.
you're in relationships, friendships, people try to change you, right? I say it all the time. I'm just being myself, and one of the greatest things that I think I just heard you say was there's often times, right? I'm the same way. I'll sit there and people are like, you okay? You're talking to yourself. Fuck, I'm getting those thoughts out. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
I'm getting them out of the body.
Yeah,
If you only knew what I was going through, right? You know what I
exactly.
mean? Like, I'm just getting them out. So, Pete, how has podcasting changed your life or saved it?
It's very therapeutic, honestly. If everybody watches from episode one to where I'm now, the journey of Pete is right there on the wide spectrum. You could see everything that's about me going on. The only thing I didn't tell anybody what was going on in the back scene, which I have recently just started talking about a little bit of it too, and things like that as well. But it's been very therapeutic. I love it. It's one of the greatest things I've ever done. I've seen so many people like look at me in a different way after doing this show. They realize what I'm doing and they've been listening to it. And they're always like, hey, listen, you're well spoken. Hey, you know, I didn't know you could talk like that. That's my favorite things. "Oh, I didn't know you could talk like that." Well, maybe if you listened, you would have heard me say these things, you know? It's just like I didn't know. I was angry all the time, you know, but now ever since doing the show, had I listened to my actions, not done this, I wouldn't have been where I'm at now. Like, you know, look at where I'm at now. I'm a year and a half into this thing. I'm 2 seasons in with season 3 coming around the corner. I still got people lined up around the corner that wanna be on this show. The show's been booking out till God, the next year when I was in July, I just stopped booking so far out because I just wanted to slow it down and just kind of bulk it all together. And then I could distribute it from there. So I get all the episodes together, start editing them all. And I do very little editing because I want to keep it as raw as possible because the conversations are real. You know, I don't want
Yeah.
anybody to think any of these conversations are doctored. They're not. These are actual conversations I've had with all these people. I spent all this time with these people. You know, I've had a returning 3-time guest actually this past week that came back on. Well, Melissa Kim Corder was actually the second guest I ever interviewed for the show, and she came back for a record 3rd time, and she'll be back for a 4th time. You know, it's like these relationships you make with people are great. And a lot of times, you know, people, I tell people all the time, like you saved a life and you don't even know it. Like all these new people I'm meeting through TikTok and things like that too. Sometimes it's just being there in the room with them and they just don't even realize it's just, it helps you more than you realize. So I've texted several of them. I told them, listen, you just saved a life and you don't even know it. Because I want people to understand, like people like they hear mental health and they're like, well, I don't know anything about it. You may know more than you do. That positive
Yeah.
interaction every single day. There's actually a person from TikTok I'm bringing on that she's very positive. Every time you meet her, and she's like, "Well, I don't know anything about mental health." Maybe you do know more than you think you do. Like you don't realize that positive interaction could be the one thing that saves somebody's life that day because you don't know. And that's why I always close out the show the same way like that. And then I also say, you know, hey, don't ask your day, say how's your mental health? Because if you think about it, if I came up to you and asked you how you're doing, you could lie to me every which way to Sunday. But if I ask you how your mental health is, it's a whole nother different question you're asked now. Now you have to
Yeah.
think about what I just said to you, and you're like, wait a minute, why is he asking this question? You know, and I a lot of people I know, you know, it just like they were grasping onto that one real hard. And I was like, you know, well, think about it because you could ask somebody how you're doing, and I'll tell you I'm okay all day. I answered your question. I didn't lie to you. Now, if
Yeah.
you say, hey, how's your mental health? I'll tell you. Sometimes it's in the shitter, but it's like, you know, I'm still here,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
Because we're so trained, people, hey, how's your day? Good.
Yeah,
That's it.
exactly,
Good.
exactly. So
And then you just keep
you
it
change
moving,
the conversation about how you're doing it, it makes people think from another aspect of it, and you unlock a whole new conversation. And then people are like, "Oh, do you really want to know?" Yeah, go ahead, tell me. You know what's up? You know, because when I was doing the star chart reading, you started seeing like these different traits, and like the woman that was doing it had no idea anything about me prior to this conversation. We were talking about like she mentioned things like podcasting was in my wheelhouse, and then I have a lot more female friends than male friends, which it's really true. I do have a lot more female, and they're just how it was. It gravitated to females as friends versus more male friends, which is nothing wrong with that. You could have female friends. You know that old debate comes up, and it's like, then the other things were like she knew that I had trouble with my mom. She knew that like people would come up to me and tell me the strangest things possible, and they're like, "Hey, listen, I never told anybody this, but I'm gonna tell you this." And it was just weird because it's like, okay, well, why are you telling me this? And it never made sense until that whole thing went down. And I was like, wait a minute, that makes perfect sense now. Now it makes sense why people come up to me and say, hey, Pete, I want to tell you something, and just start telling you these random facts. I'm like, okay.
So, Pete, what's a dream collaboration? Who's the ultimate guest you would want to come on Pete versus
You
Anxiety?
know, somebody asked me this the other day. I absolutely would die for Jacoby from Top of Roach to be on my show. Because Jacoby is a big mental health advocate himself. You know, had a few on there. I love musicians, and like, he'd be right in my wheelhouse. I'm a huge fan. I've been a fan since the first music video I ever saw by those guys. I would die. I'd absolutely die if they cut on the floor. I even had a guy from CNN tell me that he thought my interview style was really great. And this guy has 25 plus years journalism. I almost died on the damn floor right over there when he said that to me.
That's
He's
awesome.
talking to me. I'm like, hold on, man, wait a minute. He's saying this to me, you know? But yeah, that would be the dream collaboration. Like I'd love to have him be a guest on the show because I'd like to pick his brains because musicians are always interesting to hear, what their thoughts are because, a lot of us will go up there and tell them, you never know, you saved my life by your song or whatever
Yeah.
that music you made hit home for me. And I realized, Jelly Roll would be on the list too, man. I would die to have him and Bunny on.
Of him on.
Bunny would be dope too. Like his wife is really cool. I listen to her show all the time, dude. She's a fucking wild one. But I'd love to have her on. MGK would be another one. I like him. On the other hand, he's kind of interesting because you hear him interview with people. He's very not spoken, but when he's doing music, okay. When he's really interviewing people, he's a really awkward person. But I
Yeah.
like his awkwardness. I really enjoy the stuff he does. and things like that too. Like I've had two, my top five on was one was actually Paul Bauer. He runs a podcast called Come On Man. He's a men's coach. He came on
Yeah.
this past season. He actually should be airing any time now, or he already has been on. He waited 3 months just to be on the show with me. And he was like, yeah, man, I waited just to be on this show. I literally stayed and kept my subscription to this service I was using to book people. And he was like, yeah, I waited 3 months just to wait to be on your show. He's like, because I remember when I was starting out, the bigger guys gave me a shot on came on my show. He's like, and I feel the same way. Anybody that asks me to come on their show, he's like, I gladly will come because I got that chance before, which was so cool, and it was so surreal because I've always watched Paul on TikTok when he first started out. And I asked him in the beginning, hey man, what's your best advice to somebody starting a podcast? And he was like, well, be consistent. So that was my message going forward, was just before I even started this thing, I was like, all right, we're going to be consistent. We're going to keep the same date, same time, and everything else. If I have to switch it up from there, then it stays consistent from there. So like season 2, I switched up to now I do 3 drops a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And then, everything else fills in between there, and stuff like that. And then the other one was actually Dr. Jennifer, what is her last name? Bellinger and something. I can't remember what her she got 2 last names, but she's a BPD expert. She was one of the first videos I saw on YouTube when I looked up what BPD does. She was the first person I saw. And it was funny because I was on TikTok talking to her. And I caught her when she was live one time, and I caught the message at the right time because she looked right at the message when I sent it. And I was like dying. And she was like, yeah, I'll be on the show. Reach out. Tell me a month later, this woman's like, well, I'm so sorry. It took me so long to get back to you. I'm just like, hold on. This isn't real. This really isn't happening. This woman isn't emailing me saying that she wants to be on the show. I'm so sorry about taking so long to get back to you. I damn near died on the floor right there because I was like, damn, this person I idolized. I was watching her in these videos. I've seen all her YouTube videos. Even during the episode, I kind of fangirled a little bit, and she was so cool about it. She was really sweet, and she was like, I really appreciate everything you're doing. And for her to say that to me was like, oh my God, wow, this woman is well decorated. Could be a total bitch if she wanted to be, but chose not to be. She was so cool the whole
Yeah.
time and still was. She actually went and did a friend's show too. And she was like, I said, so how did you like her? Said she was really awesome. I said, she's really cool though. And it's nice when you get to meet those people that are really cool, and it was really nice to get to talk to her because it was like she didn't make you feel like anything other than another person she was having a conversation with, and I still hear from her these days, I hear from her, and I've had a lot of people on this show, like they're in the top 1% of their respective podcasts. Hysterically Speaking's host, Hillary, came on. I met her actually to a Holocaust survivor panel. We had done one. We were there, and Benjamin Lesserman was the guest, and he was talking about a story of the Holocaust. Dude, that was a rough story, man. That was a rough fucking story, bro. He's telling you details of shit that you would never even think. And he was in Auschwitz, and he got out and got put in another camp right afterwards. He watched all his brothers and sisters get killed in front of him. He watched children get burned at the young age. Like they were lighting kids up on fire in these fire pits. I'm talking some wild shit's going on. I'm like, what? I'm like, this is insane. It was some hard shit to listen to too. But she came on the show and was a really great guest. It was awesome to have her. Wasn't even a bitch at all. I don't think I've had any problems with anybody on the show that I've only referred one person that ever had a problem with something, but that was like a whole funny situation. But it's like, you don't know. Some people just don't mesh well together, and that's
No,
understandable.
exactly.
The woman that he told the other person, she said, well, I don't want this recording to come out. I can't stand behind this interview. I was like, what? But it's been fun, man. It's been great.
So, Pete, for parents listening, right, what's one tip for supporting a kid with anxiety or ADHD?
Man, anxiety especially, like if they're overreacting, it's okay to tell them that you are basically validating their feelings. Like don't ever make them feel like they're over too much. Like if they're freaking out, find them an outlet that works for them. Maybe journaling works for them. Maybe just drawing something. Maybe reading a book helps them. You know what I mean? Like understand that what they're going through, if you've never had experienced anxiety, is that they're overthinking everything you say to them every minute of the day.
Every night, yeah.
You know what I mean? And with ADHD, it comes in really hard too, is because they think on a different level. So you have to understand that you're not talking to somebody that thinks on the same level as a normal child would. So like you telling them the same things you would a kid are different. Do your research too. Like if you're not sure, like there's tons of shit out there to find people on there. The one I really like to tell people to go to is the helphub.org. Or no, sorry, the helphub. Lisa Sugarman had made this website where she literally has all these resources all in one place of things you can look up, and different things like that. Do your research and look and see, find different things that you can help them get through their day with, because understand when they're having a freak out moment, sometimes you can't help them. And it's hard. It really is hard. That's the hardest part you have to understand is that, for me, it's the same way. If I start freaking out, just let me go, because you just might as well just
Yeah.
let me unwind. Because if I'm exploding, I'm exploding. You might as well just let me go. Just let me say what I'm going to say. Don't take anything I say seriously because,
Yeah. Once that wick's lit, forget it.
You know what I mean? It's hard, man, especially kids with that don't think on the same thought process of reality. You have to remember you have to come from this from a different angle than you are anybody else. And, I deal with some people at work that are neurodivergent. So it's like, a lot of the autism scale people come in and it's like you can't talk to them in the same way. But if you ask them, hey, what's the best way for me to approach you? Most of the time, they can tell you exactly what they work with. Hey, make me a list. Or, you know what I mean? Don't treat them like they're any differently. Just ask them, hey, listen, how can I help you? What's the best way for me to get this point across you? What I need you to do? And then, like I said, for the kids, it's like, understand that they're going to feel feelings they don't understand. Still kids. I mean, there's a great book that somebody I met recently is writing. It's called No More Monsters Under the Bed. And what it is it's teaching these kids at a young age how to emotionally regulate, and it teaches adults the same thing. It's like it's a two-way road. And Shannon Curtis came on the show and we were talking about it. She has a whole series of them that are coming out. So just like anything you can figure out that works best for them. Like you're going to have to try some things. Obviously, is it going to be successful? No, it happens. Don't feel defeated if you can't win on the first try. It's what it is. The same thing with therapists. When people try and pick a therapist, sometimes the first one is going to be a dud for you, man. Sometimes it's 5 or 6 down the road. It's a dud. You'll find that one that you feel the most comfortable with that fits, and then advocate for it. So
Yeah. Nope. So last question, Pete. What's the hope you want every listener to carry forward today?
talk about your mental health. God damn it. I can't say it enough. I can't shout it enough. Men, especially. We need to start talking. 80% is a high number, especially 10 to 14. Like that's way too fucking young to have you losing these young kids at this age for that reason. And then, if you look at the statistics, break it down, we're less likely to talk about our feelings. You can talk to anybody. Just talk to somebody. Like, I don't give a fuck with you. You can reach out to me, Jimmy, and I probably definitely
Yeah,
take your messages. You want
exactly.
to talk to one of us, like, talk to somebody, dude. I can't say that enough. Everybody says we're talking about this enough, but look at the statistics. You tell me how that's making sense if we're talking about this enough. Are we talking a little more? Yeah, because I see more people getting into this space that want to be a part of this space. And I love it. Every time I see a new mental health podcast come out, I'm like, hell yeah, let's go. What can I do to
Yeah.
support you? Tag me in your
Yeah.
shit. Let's go.
Yeah.
Tag me in
And
everything you do.
I say it all the time, Pete, right? I don't talk about it because I want views or clicks or anything like that, right? I talk about it because it's what I've lived, what I've gone through.
Hmm.
But I also want to share that experience with others because to show men, especially, there's guys that are willing and able to talk about it. And if I'm willing and able and Pete's willing and able, we all should be willing and able as
Right.
men to be able to talk about it.
Exactly.
And, like I say all the time, everyone has my number, my email. You can always call, you can always text. I'm always available. My phone's always on. So, Pete, just let people know where they can find the podcast before I get into my closing.
All right, here we go, everybody. Let me close this out like I normally close. So, well, I'm Pete for Anxiety. You can find me on X all the way down to TikTok. I am telling you, I am everywhere singly possible. I'm on Spotify all the way down to Pandora Radio, including YouTube. You can find me wherever you find your podcasts at. You can find Pete for Anxiety. I literally made it that accessible because you get people that say, "Well, I use this, I use that." Cool, I'm there. Are you? Did you even look? Because if you looked, you can Google me and Chat GPT me. You can find me that way easily too. If you want to be a guest on the show, go to PeteVersAnxietyPodcast.com. Reach out to me. Understand, I get a lot of emails. I will get back to you. I am not ignoring your emails. I promise you. Eventually, I'll hire an intern to yell at all day to have them go through it and things like that too. But, I am trying to get as many as you on as I can. I'd love to sit down and talk to you guys whenever I can. If you have a story, somebody has a story, reach out and let me know. I'd love to have you on. And then I'll probably end up sending out to about 5 or 6 other podcasters I know if your story fits into something they do. I am known as the master networker for a reason. I love sharing out other people, and things like that too. I love getting people heard and love getting them to different places. So, like I said, you can find me everywhere you look at where your podcasts are at.
Perfect. So, Pete, from the bottom of my heart, thank you.
Definitely, Jimmy. Thank you so much for having me, man. I enjoyed this. It was a great conversation.
I had a lot of fun. So not just for showing up today, but for the lives you're touching, the change you're breaking, and the light you're spreading into a world that desperately needs it. Your vulnerability is a revolution. Your voice is a lifeline. In this conversation, pure gold. Folks, do yourself a favor. Subscribe to Pete vs. Anxiety right now. Follow him everywhere and carry his message forward. Pete, your family now. God bless, and we'll see you next time. Peace and love. Peace and love. Uncle Jimmy out.